Hey YouTube friends, in today's video we're doing something that I don't normally do very often, and that is unboxing some wishlist plants. And even more exciting than that, they're actually early birthday wishlist plants. I just don't buy plants online very often. I don't have the need to really. Between Plant Club and all of my plant friends, a lot of my plants I get through rescues and propagations and swaps and that sort of thing. And I do have some really beautiful local nurseries around us as well, and there's something really lovely going for coffee and looking at the plants. So in general, I don't purchase online very often. This looks like it's a relatively new shop. It's not a shop that's popped up in my feed previously, and the reviews were really good. So I've got my fingers crossed. There's 3 plants that we're going to be unboxing today, and one of them is a wishlist plant that has been on my wish list from the very moment that I saw one of these plants at my friend's house. And I truly thought that I would never ever be able to own one of these plants, but I decided I've been going okay with this particular genus, and when this particular wishlist plant popped up on my feed for $35, I thought, you know what, I'm going to buy it for myself for my birthday. So I ended up getting 2 other wishlist plants, and all they cost me $50, which I thought was absolutely awesome. Always a little bit nervous shopping somewhere that you haven't shopped before. They gave me a choice of how the plants were shipped, and I chose for them to be shipped for me in spag moss, which, fingers crossed, in the past when I've propagated plants in spag moss, usually spag moss perlite, I've had a fair amount of success transitioning them from that and into my chunky mix. So I've really got high hopes for these plants. So not only will we unbox them in today's video, but you'll also get to watch me pot them up. And I guess the good thing about that is I'm going to be potting them, let me just think, all 3 of them I'll be potting up slightly differently just because of their care requirements. So I thought you might enjoy that as well. And just quickly, if we haven't met before, hey, I'm Mel. I'm that crazy self-confessed plant lady who just cannot stop talking about plants. And this channel is all about bringing you along on my planty journey, mistakes and all, and hopefully giving you a bucket load of tips and tricks along the way so that you can build your planty collection as well. This is such a lovely surprise to get to unbox these new plants with you guys today. I was searching for a wishlist plant in particular that I hadn't come across in any of our local nurseries, nor has anyone at Plant Club got one. So I guess I've been keeping a bit of an eye out. So I was only looking for this one particular plant, but I've always, as most planty people do, I've always got wishlist plants, and 2 more of them popped up at this shop. So I ordered all of these plants I'm about to unbox with you guys less than a week ago, and they were actually really clear. One of the things I liked about them was they were very clear. They only shipped once or twice a week. I thought that I hadn't made the cutoff for the week, so I wasn't expecting these to turn up till next week, which is closer to my birthday. So what a lovely early birthday surprise. Oh, I can't wait to show you guys the 3 plants that's in this box. Let's open these up. Oh, wow. I can't complain that these aren't well sealed. I literally am having trouble getting into these without showing you guys the address label on the front. So I chose for them to come in spag moss because I've had a lot of success in the past transferring propagations from spag moss into my self-watering setup. So hopefully that's a good start. I'm going to have to cut this to open. I thought that was a really cute little sticker. It's a little thank you sticker that came with it. That was a nice touch. Probably breaking a whole heap of safety rules here with regards to scissors. Doing a really bad job of this. There's wrapping paper in there, and there's also a little thank you card, which I always, hey buddy, which I always think is a super nice touch when you're buying plants online, and they look really secure, the plants in here as well. Diesel is up on the bed. I don't know if you can see in the mirror, he is throwing cushions everywhere while I'm trying to do this. He's making himself very comfortable. Oh, this one came out first, so this is the one we're going to open. I don't know, can anyone guess what this is? It's a plant that I've been admiring from a distance for a very long time, and it's sort of one of those plants that has been on my wish list, but I guess I don't come across them a lot in local nurseries. And then we're doing a plant tour actually of one of my planty friends' houses as part of Plant Club last month. She actually had a new one sitting in her bathroom, and it's the first time I've seen one in real life, I think, and it just reminded me how much I love these guys. So this is a Philodendron Tortum. As you guys have probably guessed, I'm not a massive fan of philodendrons. I don't have a lot in my collection because I just find a lot of them I don't like the growing patterns, I guess. I know that is absolutely horrible to say. And also a lot of them, the size, they can get quite big, and size is a premium here in our house, so I can't always justify getting large philodendrons. And look, I know this guy will grow big eventually, but I have read that growing them in a pot keeps them at a reasonable size. I also like that they're self-heading, so I'm not going to have to worry about any vining or climbing with these guys as well. And see, I love how they package it. So it's just wrapped in sphagnum moss with the plastic around it, and it still feels really moist, guys. That's amazing. When these arrived this morning, I felt like I needed to rush to get them out of the box just because of the negative experiences that I have had with shipped plants in the past, but I really like how these guys have done it. So touch wood, that is my new Philodendron Tortum. Let's open the next one up. The Christmas tour that I did of my favorite plant nursery, the Plant Shack, I spotted one of these and I just kept going back to it. So this is a dark Leaf Syngonium. I haven't been able to stop thinking about since I saw it at the nursery. A really interesting thing about this plant is when I saw it at the nursery, it was listed under a different name. So I actually had trouble finding this online initially. So this nursery calls it a Syngonium Black Velvet. And once I started searching for Syngonium Black Velvet, it was much easier to find. But the name that I saw at the nursery started with a W, which I'll make sure I put up on the screen for you. This is feeling like a really decent sized plant as well, guys. Oh, this plant, from memory, let me just check the price list. This guy was $8. So, Syngonium Black Velvet, backwards on the screen. Really decent size. Look at the colour. Wow, I just love the contrast. I absolutely adore the contrast of these guys. It's really hard to see in this light, but those leaves are so dark. And then that stripe down the middle. By all accounts, with its darker green leaves, it is one of the more easier Syngoniums to grow, according to the internet. Let's just have a look, check for any pests. No, I'm feeling pretty positive here, guys. I mean, obviously the real test will be when I open this up and I have a look at the roots. The spag moss is actually damp in here still because I haven't bought from these guys before. I wanted to make sure that they were in okay condition. They weren't all dried out. I'm even tempted to leave these overnight and maybe do these first thing in the morning. Before I unbox my very ultimate wishlist plant for my birthday for this year, I wanted to quickly share a story with you for anyone who also owns a very large and forever puppy like dog like I do, Miss Daisy. I don't know, she's not around. She's normally here when I'm filming videos, but she's not here for this part. Maybe because she knows what she's done. It's been a week, guys, since you last saw me because wow, the end result of the week, and I just need to be ladylike about this because I am wearing a skirt today, is that I am actually in a mood boot. I have a broken toe, snapped clean through. Two or 3 days ago now. So I guess a little bit of forced rest for me, which my family tell me is not a bad thing because I'm actually really bad at self-care and taking the rest that I need. It was raining, but my dogs love going for a run in the rain. I don't know about you guys, but we've got a park the next street over and it just gets these fun puddles and the dogs just have an absolute ball. So I took them out in the rain, had my Birkenstocks, my rubber Birkenstocks on, and my forever puppy, the 60-kilo 10-year-old dog, is having so much fun, she forgets that I'm attached to her lead when she sees a friend and has just dragged me. The bruises are almost healed, but she did a pretty good job. And at the same time, she sprained my ankle. I had to have it wrapped up for a few days. And so finally my ankle was getting better and I thought, right, Melissa, you've got to get in. Let's get the house sorted after the holidays. So I'm running around like a crazy person, as you do, trying to make up for lost time. Apparently, as I slipped and broke my big toe, I yelled out Daisy's name. So she had had a drink of water, and for anyone who understands big dogs, I had left a lot of dripping water around the ground when the water dish was, and normally there's a mat, but the mat was in the wash because I was running around like a crazy person straight through the water, and because my ankle was already twisted, I had nothing when I slipped. So I ended up on the ground on my butt with my toe that is very broken and my foot underneath, like just twisted in angles I thought I shouldn't go. You should have seen it, guys. The water bucket had got knocked over in the process, so I'm sitting on the ground with a toe that I pretty much know is broken because it started looking like this like straight away. I had 20 litres of dog water all over me, and I just sat there and said to my eldest son, can you please bring me some ice? The funny thing is when people see my arms, they assume that I did it all in one, but it was just like a whole comedy of errors around Daisy. But that's enough. You guys are here for the plant. You can probably guess what this is. I fell in love with this plant a few years ago. I went to a friend's house and I saw it, and it was just one of the most beautiful plants I've ever seen. They weren't actually sure what the name of the plant was, and eventually I got a plant app and I looked it up, and when I realized the species and genus that it was, I thought, well, I'm never going to own one of those plants because, well, you guys know I've been on a journey with this particular species, and it really only has been through Plant Club and rescuing a few of them that I've actually become more confident. So this one was $35. This was a big splurge for me because it's getting very close to that $40 mark that I spend on plants. So they're saying it's in an 8cm pot size, which I thought was really reasonable for this particular plant for $35. You can probably already guess what it is. Oh, so excited, guys. So excited. I have wanted one of these plants for so long. look, I still don't know if it's going to do well in my care. I haven't seen this yet, so let me just, oh my goodness, I'm so excited. I can't believe I have, and you've probably guessed, an Alocasia Frydek. I didn't know if I would ever be confident to own one of these. Look at the variegation on this plant. Oh my goodness, oh my goodness. That is some really pretty variegation right there. When I have bought variegated plants online before, I found one of the downsides of buying online is you don't get to choose the variegation. So for example, I've got a Syngonium Fantasy, and it came with very little variegation, and I was a little bit disappointed because it has similar colors, but this variegation is just spectacular. Oh, the sphagnum is still really damp here. Normally I would go out this afternoon and I would repot these straight away, but they are still damp and so well packed because my foot is throbbing. I have done way too much today. Don't tell my family. I will leave them till tomorrow morning, I think, and we'll take the plastic and the sphagnum off together, and you guys can have a look at the roots because that will be the real tester. Just having a look. There's something black on here. Oh no, it's just a little bit of dirt. I've just had so many plants that I bought online that have come with multiple sorts of bugs and fungus, but that does not appear to be the case. All of these leaves, apart from this one, and this might be an older leaf, so it's just got a little bit of browning on the edges, but all of the other leaves are just in amazing condition. I know, seriously, I'm like a kid at Christmas, but it's actually even prettier than I had remembered. So the friend that had the Frydek, I was devastated when I found out, and I couldn't give them any advice at the time because I was fairly new into plants and I had no idea about allocation. And so their Frydek unfortunately died because they kept saying to me, oh, you love that plant so much and I'll give you a propagation when it gets bigger, and it never made it to be bigger. I'm just delighted. How exciting, guys. So I think I've got this on the right angle for you guys. I can definitely see the plants in the viewfinder, so hopefully this will work. I haven't filmed from this spot before, and I don't really know how I feel about repotting plants on the kitchen table, but I didn't know where else to do it because I really do need to be sitting down at the moment. And look, I've got my trusty repotting mat here, and I've put everything into containers, so hopefully I don't make too much mess while we're doing this. So I did yesterday. I went back and I checked the moss, and I did end up sitting these guys in a cup of water and just making sure that I rehydrated that moss. So usually when I get new plants, in an ideal world, because I said I'd talk about what I do with these guys, in an ideal world, I quarantine my new plants for a few weeks when I get them, just to make sure. So there's no obvious pests on any of these at the moment, but you just don't know because a pest life cycle can take a few weeks. But I don't really have the space at the moment to quarantine them. So what I did is I actually put them in the propagation room on top of the dryer, and I moved all the other plants back away from them. I also really check them out for pests, but once we repot them, I'll also give them a spray with my We the Wild Protect spray as well. I'll do that today, and I'll probably do that in another week. And look, to the best of my ability, I'll just keep them on the dryer and move all of my other plants away from them as much as I possibly can. But as I said, at the end of the day, I've got so many plants now, I don't have a good quarantine space. Bring on my greenhouse this year because that would be amazing. Each of these plants, and look, I'm no expert, guys, and everyone does this a little bit differently. So just from my experience of growing each of these types of plants, I'm going to pot them up slightly differently. So my Alocasia, I'm going to put up exactly like my other Alocasias who are doing well. So this guy is going in Perlite Stratum, self-watering. So my Syngonium seem to go really well in both hydro and in my chunky mix in self-watering. And so thinking about where I want to put this guy, I want to put this guy on one of the recycled timber shelves. And so the best way for the pot to sit, I'm going to put it in my chunky mix, but in a self-watering setup. And then the Philodendron. So I've never had a Tortum before. So this guy's just going to go straight into my chunky mix. So these two will both get my chunky mix, but this guy will get the chunky mix not in self-watering. And I guess just for the Syngoniums grow amazing in water for me. They are one of the plants with pothos and with oh my goodness, words today. They're one of the plants that with pothos and also with my spider plants and my snake plants actually, that I can grow in hydro long term, and they don't seem to have a moment. Most of my other plants, I can grow them in hydro for that 12 to 18 month period, and then they seem to have a bit of a moment and I have to repot them. It's only where I want to put this. A tall hydro container is not really going to work, but I definitely could do either or, depending on where I was going to put this. So I think we'll do the Tortum first. Put some gloves on. I'm always a bit nervous about this bit. Any new plants, regardless of whether you order them online or from a nursery, just to make sure that they don't have root rot or any bugs in the soil. This is always really telling when you open them up. Oh, look at this. And they've made it really easy to unwrap. Yeah, I'm super happy with this so far. Oh, good. And that moss is nice and wet as well. So hopefully I'm just going to be able to gently pull it off the roots. Look at that. That just came off so easily. I've been transporting in moss. So I think I've told you guys before, when I first started getting into plants, you know, so many people go, oh, the roots have to be completely clean, wash them off. I guess I learned the hard way that if you really get in there and clean them and disturb the roots a lot, I guess traumatize the roots, then you're just more likely that the plant's not going to do as well. So I always played the balance. I make sure the roots are clean. And sometimes if the soil or the medium's being stubborn, I will soak it in a container of water for a little bit. But I get them mostly clean, but not perfectly clean, because I'd rather that the roots have as less disturbance as possible, I guess. And then I just rely on, when I'm rinsing these pots over the next few weeks, I just make sure that I take them outside and I'm letting the water drain out the bottom. And then eventually anything that's left on the roots is going to wash out. So once again, everyone does things completely differently, but that's just how I found works really, really well for my plants. So what size pots am I going to pot these into? So I guessed from the wrapped roots approximately what size these roots would be. I don't have any pots at the moment. I've sort of got a gap between this size pot and then the really small pots. I've got nothing in between. But if you have a look there, I sort of felt pretty happy with the root size going in this pot. I prefer snug roots, I guess, more snug roots. I probably would go one pot size down, but I just don't have any of this. So this is a 10 centimeter pot, and the next size down I've sort of got like the 5 and 6 centimeters, which will be too small for these. So 10 centimeters it is, but if I had a choice, I would just go slightly down. So maybe a 7 or an 8 centimeter pot. Okay, so this guy is going in 100% chunky mix, because philodendrons don't appreciate wet roots, so I've discovered. I am so allergic to the microbes in soil. Oh, sinus, don't even get me started. But we're not dealing with any soil today. I mean, there might just be a little bit on here, but even still, all of my medium is damp. I never ever work with anything dry, just to stop the chance of any dust when I'm working with it. This is not a good size scoop. I'll just go and get a smaller scoop. I'll be back in a second. Hopefully this one works a little bit better. This is the outer saucer for my self-watering that will fit with the 10 centimeter pot. So I guess, and I'm just telling you guys my theory, I guess, on how I like to repot with regards to the root size. As I said, everyone does it differently. There's definitely no set rule. The Syngonium I'll put into a black pot. I feel much more confident with the Syngonium because I have so many Syngoniums now. But the Tortum, this one, and the Alocasia I'm going to put into clear pots, just so that I can watch the moisture in the pot as well as I'm learning the plant. So that's it for that one, guys. I'll show you this one. This will be easier. So that's just in my DIY chunky mix. So lots of perlite and orchid bark, a bit of leca in there, and a bit of cocoa fiber as well. This guy is going to go in our bedroom on our ladder shelf. So I've discovered a lot of my self-heading philodendrons that I've tried in the past do like a decent amount of light. So it's not going to be getting as much light as the Hoya that I've got up on top of the ladder, but it's certainly going to be getting a good amount of grow light. I can't help myself, there's a little bit of a leaf hanging down there. I know. Got a bit of a thing about leaves. Some of these leaves got a little bit damaged in transit. There we go. Just love these plants. They're just a little bit weird and quirky. Look at the growth pattern. So excited to have this one. So in the future, once I've got used to the plant and I've got an idea about its watering and its light needs, potentially I'll consider a cover pot for this plant. But for now, these clear pots have just made such a difference for me while I'm learning the plant's care needs. All right, let's repot our Syngonium next. Look at the color. Just beautiful. I can't wait to watch this guy grow, and I'm really hoping that I'll be able to propagate it and grow it in a few places around our house. Hopefully the sphagnum moss is just as easy to get off this one as it was off the philodendron. Pretty impressed with this, guys. really clever. Oh, I've forgotten to put gloves on. Hang on. 1 sec. Oh, that's come off so easy again. Wow. Oh, I'm so grateful to this nursery. Look at that. Just like the philodendron, there is a little bit of dirt, of soil still left on the roots, but I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to rely on the flushing over the next few times that I water my plants. And hopefully that will get the rest of it off. I mean, this plant's already gone through a lot. It's obviously been taken out of its pot at the nursery, and then also it's been transported, and who knows how many days it's been in the post. So I'm not going to give it any more drama. Now, the Syngonium, because I'm pretty confident with Syngoniums these days, but also I actually like the aesthetic of the black pot with the clear saucer. I haven't found a cover pot that works for these yet where I've still got the visibility, but I really am quite partial to just that simple aesthetic around the house and for my self-watering setup. So same as the philodendron, ideally I would have gone a slightly smaller pot, but I just don't have any at the moment. So this will have to do, and look, it's a pretty decent sized root ball. Even though I've got these wishlist plants, as you guys know, I'm not really into getting too many new plants. Really, between plant club and propagations with friends, I do get a lot of plants, and I really feel like my plants are at a manageable level at the moment. And it's also nice getting cuttings from friends and plant club because you don't always know what you're going to get. So there's so many plants that I own that I would never have guessed that I would own or would have even thought to look for at the nursery, and I think that's part of the fun. But then you do get those plants. So this guy, I saw it at Christmas time and I really haven't stopped thinking about it. I won't show you guys here because I'm on my kitchen table, but after I pot up each of these, so I'm going to take this outside to the hose and I'm going to give it a really good flush, so hopefully to start getting any of the rest of the soil off its roots, but also just to give the mix a good wash. All of my components have been rinsed, but I think it's always good practice just to give it another rinse when you first get them. Probably for the next 2 or 3 waters, I won't put any hydroponic fertiliser in with the water. I'll just make sure that I'm focusing on giving them a good rinse. I don't know, it's just a theory of mine, but I've found that when I get brand new plants and then I go and shock them, so they've already had a change of environment, they've potentially been moved pots, they've been posted, and now my house is different to what they're used to, all the things. I find if I add fertilizer to that as well, it's potentially just another thing to shock them. So when I'm acclimatizing a plant, not only do I do the pest control and try and keep them quarantined, I also just water them. I don't add the fertilizer. My chunky mix doesn't have fertilizer in it, but even still, I've found if a plant's healthy, I'm better off just leaving it for 2 or 3 weeks before I start adding the fertilizer. If you're getting a plant from a nursery that comes already potted in a soil, it usually has fertilizer through it, so then you don't need to worry about starting to fertilize it straight away. All right, so I'm really happy with that one, but that's how that will look. That is my beautiful new Syngonium. Next up, Alocasia. I meant to say with that Syngonium too, usually when I'm doing my self-watering setup, I put a layer of Perlite or Leca down the bottom third where I plant the roots above. That particular chunky mix actually had a lot more perlite in it than usual. I was actually using up some mix that I had in some other pots, so it's quite heavy on the perlite. And because I found that Syngoniums don't mind a little bit of moisture, the high perlite content already, it should be okay that I didn't put that perlite layer down the bottom, just as long as I'm keeping those roots above that 1/3. All right, so now let's pot this guy up. I am so conscious. I don't know if you've had the same experience with alocasias. I don't know how many of these beautiful leaves are going to be left over the coming weeks, because certainly in my experience, most alocasias that I potted up have a little bit of a moment post-pot. It's got a new little leaf coming out. Can you guys see that? I don't know if that'll come out properly. Let's have a look at some of these colors in case we lose some of them in the repot. It's already been taken out of its pot at the nursery, so it's probably already unhappy with me. Let's count how many leaves actually, because that'll be really interesting over the next few weeks. So it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with a 6 on the way. So it'll be interesting to see over the next few weeks how many of these leaves stay and how many of them have a moment after we've repotted, because from what I've heard, Frydek's are sort of a medium level alocasia and can be a little bit more fussy. So fingers crossed, guys. I would never have tried this last year. Absolutely never. It's only that I keep managing to end up with alocasias from Plant Club corms or little cuttings that I think aren't going to make it out of the plant library, and I've gained a little bit more confidence. I've learned a lot over the last 12 months, and look, it may still die. It may have an absolute moment when we repot it, but at least I know I'm giving it a chance. I'm a little bit worried when winter comes because the prime spot for my alocasias is the back patio, which I'll show you guys in the tour next week or the week after. I'll just see how my foot's going to be able to walk around outside. But the little corner in the back patio where I put these, it is sheltered, and in wintertime I've never had to move any of my plants inside. It's its own little environment, I guess, because it's where the fiddle leaf fig is. I've got that big spider plant and then lots of other smaller plants, and they seem to be their own little ecosystem there. So I find in winter I don't really have to move them inside, and that they're sheltered from any breezes or anything being in the corner, or wind, like when we have storms. So breezes, cold breezes or storm winds. Look at that, so healthy. Oh, fingers crossed I can keep it this way. Have a look at the roots compared to the size of the pot. So this is another 10 centimeter pot. Definitely going in clear. I'm actually going to order, I think I was telling you guys in another video, I've really been appreciating those taller, they're meant for orchid pots, but people use them for alocasias, and I've found that they're really good for my alocasias, but I have run out. I didn't reorder them from Amazon before we went on holiday, so we'll just have to use this for now. So this guy, I've had the most success with my alocasias, touch wood so far, in Perlite Stratum mix self-watering. So that's exactly what we're going to do with this guy. And this is the definite 1/3 down the bottom perlite before we do anything else. Now, was I telling you guys earlier in the video? I'm so sorry. I have actually stopped in between. My husband got home from work and he's going on a boys motorbike riding weekend this weekend, camping Fraser Island. I love for him that he goes on those sorts of adventure weekends, but I have to say I feel worried the whole time that he goes. But anyway, I just was helping him pack his stuff. So I can't remember if I said to you, long story short, did I say that I always work with perlite wet just because of the silica dust? And ideally I would be doing this outside. So I do have the fans going and I have all the doors and windows open, so that there is a lot of breeze, but usually I would also do this outside and also wear a mask because of the silica dust. But we've just gone with wet and an aeration here. It doesn't have to be exact, but I've put about 1/3 perlite down the bottom, and I'm making sure that the roots are above that. And then I'm going to fill the next 2/3 up with the mix of the stratum and perlite. And that seems to be a magic formula. Well, it's working for my alocasias at the moment. So I've just bought this brand of Fluval. I get it from Bunnings. I don't know if you can buy it in store, but I could just get it online delivered. And it seems to be working really well. But there's heaps and heaps of different brands that you can get. So the way I do it, I find the different density between the Fluval Stratum and the perlite. I just normally put it in a bigger container and just sort of shake it up. This is very unscientific, but with the different densities, it seems to work, and it just mixes it up really good for me. So I'll put a little bit more stratum in there. Now this definitely, over the next few weeks, as I give it a bit of a wash, so much dark stuff comes out from the volcanic goodness, I guess, the volcanic goodness of the Fluval Stratum. Yeah, so that's much better mixed. So I'll put this in here. There's a number of new leaves actually I can see coming out. Let's give it a good shake. Goodness, I hope some of these leaves survive. And then the next thing is deciding whereabouts all of my alocasias are on my vintage, on my thrift shop ladders, but they're at different heights depending on how much light they prefer. And I'm a bit torn with this guy because usually with variegated plants, they require more light. So the green is where the chlorophyll is, obviously, and then where the white is less chlorophyll. So they really rely on the green patches need to get a lot of light. But at the same time, when there's this much white, they can be super, super sensitive to too much light and burn. So I think I'm about to have a real learning curve with regards to light with this one. I was saying, anyone who watched my video last week, I've moved my Raphidophora outside onto the patio because I was wanting to try it hanging down like I'd seen in a coffee shop in Japan, and already it's getting some sun scorching on the leaves. It's only getting morning sun, which I thought would be okay, but it's obviously getting too much morning sun where it is. There we go. So we've still got the layer of perlite down the bottom, and then we've got the mix of stratum and perlite 50-50 approximately, not exact. And so next what I'll do is I'm going to take it outside, give it a really good flush through with water, and then when it's finished stripping, we're gonna, oops, the double saucer here. We'll put it in our self-watering setup, and we'll be filling the line no higher than the tube. Particularly when I first pot things, I usually only go to the one line, and I'm happy just to keep watching the plants and topping it up more regularly. I'd much rather go only to the first line when a plant's getting established, particularly for our Frydek friend, than to ground the roots. Yeah, so I'll just be super watchful with it over the next few weeks as I'm learning its watering habits, but also watching for the scorching on the leaves as well. And hopefully we're not going to lose too many leaves in the process, I think. And here is little Miss Chaos herself. We absolutely would not be without her. Hey, causing chaos this week, aren't you, girl? You're such a cutie. So guys, that's the end of today's unboxing and repotting video. Thank you so much once again for spending time with me today. I really appreciate it. I try and be conscious when I'm getting new plants and not just buy new plants for the sake of getting new plants. But those three, I'm just super excited about. I've already got homes in mind for them. So whatever you're doing this week, I hope you're having an absolutely wonderful week. I'm looking forward to seeing you in my next video. And until then, take care guys, and remember, you've totally got this.